So before we kick it off today, I would love all of your participation to just give a round of applause to everybody who had to put work and effort into making this conference as beautiful as it is today. Could we give them louder? Woo! I know it's the afternoon, we can do better. Woo! Yes. A huge thank you to everybody who put this conference on. It is beautiful, and it's really been an incredible day, so thank you. I'm Kristen Stone, and I've been at Coinbase for about 4 years now. I currently serve as the product manager for our back-end technical team, which connects the Coinbase applications to the blockchain. For a user, this looks like if you were to send Bitcoin, it's going to be executed through our system. So when Rethink invited me here, I started thinking about trust in a decentralized world. I've been interacting with this technology for 4 years. And as enterprises work to bring decentralization and blockchain technology to improve their trust, what are some of the challenges that might occur? What ways might trust be eroded through decentralization? Well, I've experienced these personally, and so what I'd like to talk about today is a key functionality of blockchain. It's called forks. And the way that these forks evolve trust and the implications of forks and their complexity if we do not protect customers. So let's begin with the promise of blockchain. Decentralization provides power to customers in the financial system. It gives them the ability to audit, to modify, and to execute a financial system. This is incredible. That doesn't exist in the traditional financial world. If a bank who has code that was written over a decade ago, if that code is unsecure or unfair to a customer, there's nothing a customer can do. They have no power there. Centralization creates this lack of trust. And it extends beyond banking institutions. It extends to people who hold your data. We've experienced these data breaches. They're becoming almost commonplace, especially in America. Target, Equifax, Chase, they've lost customer information. They spent years, these enterprise companies spent years to build customer trust. And they received 143 million customers who trusted them and whose data they lost. And let's really think about the gravity of that. 143 million people. That is the population of Russia. As though Russia, every person in Russia lost their credit history, had it stolen from them, that information taken. With centralization, these hacks are inevitable. It's already becoming the rule. It's no longer the exception. This is commonplace. But blockchain has unique functionality. So with blockchain, it's open source. This is their GitHub repo. So with blockchain, you can audit their code. You could modify it. You have that ability as a customer. Imagine a traditional financial system where you could change the technology that powers it, where you could create a copy, not just of the technology, because it's open source and anyone can download it, but also the history, every balance that has ever existed, every customer in that system, you can create a copy. And you can add new functionality to it, so that now it operates in a new and unique way that's in line with your belief systems. In blockchain, we call this forks. And a fork, if you're not familiar, it's basically taking one database, one system, and now creating two. So the largest fork was Bitcoin Cash. What happened is that there were a number of people who wanted to increase the quantity of transactions which could be processed in a period of time. And there was another group of people who didn't like the trade-offs that that would make. So the first group said, all right, we'll take your technology, we'll implement this new functionality, we'll create a fork, a second system. People can come to choose to be a part of ours if they like our idea. But they didn't just clone the database, they didn't just clone the technology. They took the history, the balances, everything that had happened previously up until that moment of time, they copied that information as well. And since then, we've seen a handful of other forks, more people, more good ideas, all happening in the same way. And these forks will evolve trust because they give customers an opportunity to stand up for what they believe in, to participate in the system that they believe in, and to modify the code of a system that they don't believe in. And this is where it gets tricky, because forks are technically complicated. And the confusion can also erode trust. To make a fork, to make a second balance, to make an entire new system as easy as an icon on a web page, you have to face significant technical challenges. And I'd love to share with all of you today some of the challenges I've encountered over the last year as forks have become more prominent. Diving into how we can protect customers. So we'll talk about balance integrity, talk about fund movement, and finally, and most importantly, customer safety. So what do I mean by balance integrity? Here we're talking about determining the funds, the balance that a customer has at the time of the fork. Imagine quoting an entire bank's balances at a specific moment in time, and then needing to connect in the back end to an entire new network, an entire new payment system, and display those balances to customers. And this challenge becomes exponentially harder when you deal with smart contracts, where the balance may not even be finalized yet. The other difficulty with balances is what we call cross-chain sins. And this is a very unique feature. But because these two blockchains have a shared language, a customer may accidentally send money from one blockchain to an account number that exists on the other blockchain. And when they do that, this blockchain will not recognize that send, and it won't move it anywhere else. So the customer, they won't receive an error, their money will just be lost. Can you imagine what that would feel like? A user error and your money's gone? I'll talk more about cross-chain sins in a minute. But I want to cover fund movement as well. So what does it look like to access funds in the moment of a fork? A fork is an opportunity for you to vote on what you believe in, for you to go and participate in the system you believe in. But up until that moment, well, it's sort of like right before Christmas when everyone's trying to shop. It's chaotic. You're moving your money, you're trying to get it there, and this creates burst scaling issues, both on the network level and on the website level. People are trying to get their money to the right place so that they can participate in the system that they want. And often these forks have very limited lead time. It's pretty easy to create a fork. Actually, there's even a website for it now. They've really taken off. And that's great, but if you don't have time to prepare for these scaling issues, it's a challenge at the customer level and at the organizational level. And the final challenge is customer safety. Above all else, at Coinbase, our mission is to be the most trusted. But with forks, some of the issues, they go beyond just database records. They are value, they are money that can be lost. One challenge, it's called replay attacks. So on a replay attack, you have two chains. And if a customer is sending money on this chain, it may also be valid on this chain because they have a shared history. So that first transaction you do when the network split, you may think you're sending money here and inadvertently also be sending money here. The second challenge, another way that money can be lost, that customer trust gets lost, is with untested code. Some of these forks, they don't have the rigor or the size that the current networks do. And so the code may not be secure. Coinbase audits all of their underlying protocols. It takes us a while to integrate with a new blockchain, and the reason is we want to make sure it is safe for our customers. In addition, some of these blockchains, some of these forks, they can be outright scams, the same as you would have in a traditional financial industry. If we don't handle these challenges, it's going to create confusion, and it's going to erode trust. It takes an opportunity, and it just throws it away. So I want to talk about an example of how Coinbase has helped to mitigate these challenges. I spoke about cross-chain sins. So here we have a fork. Bitcoin was the original chain. It continues up at top, and then underneath it you see the chain split, Bitcoin Cash. Now a customer could send funds from their Bitcoin address to an address in Bitcoin Cash. But it won't be valid in the Bitcoin Cash chain because it's not in Bitcoin Cash currency. So Coinbase, in order to resolve this issue for our customers, we sync addresses, we sync the account information between the two. We're monitoring, is someone sending this to the wrong chain on accident? And then we're forwarding the information to the correct chain so it ends up where the customer intended it to be. We are making sure that a customer doesn't send money and their mistake costs them. We're ensuring that trust is maintained. These customer considerations, they're a requirement if we're going to bring this technology to what it can be, if we can give this to everyone. Being able to protect your customers from complexity will unlock the benefit of forks, the ability for us to control and change our financial system, for us to have power in the financial system. It gives us an opportunity to make a fork, some complicated technical jargon, as simple as an icon. An opportunity for customers, like this one, to say, I made a mistake, and Coinbase really helped out. I didn't have to mark it up to the risk of using crypto, because there's no way we can obtain mass adoption. There's no way we can leverage this and bring it to everyone if there is a risk inherent in it. If we can overcome these challenges, and this won't be the last one. Blockchain is a new technology. We'll face a lot more, but if we can overcome them, it will evolve trust. Thank you. And I think I have plenty of time for questions, or some time. Yes?
Do you have a volunteer with the mic? Right here. Where are you?
How you going?
Good, thanks. He has a shirt that says Institution of Crypto Anarchy. It's a good one.
Just some stuff that you kind of went over. So you were speaking about the danger of centralization. That was a bit confusing for me because Coinbase is a centralized exchange. So coming from that perspective, I was very surprised that you would point out centralization to be a danger, yet you are one of the biggest centralized exchanges on the planet. Then you went over forks and you said they're becoming more prominent. Bitcoin has been forked for years prior to Bitcoin Cash. I mean, most of the altcoins are a fork of Bitcoin's code. And you said blockchain is open source. That's also not true because you also have private blockchains. So you would have to specify which blockchain you're speaking about to kind of indicate which one is open or not. So I'm just curious, based on those 3 points, it's nothing personal. It's about your organization, not you. I'm sure you're a lovely person. So I'm just curious, based on those points, what comments you would have.
Yeah. First, I am a lovely person. Thank you. Thanks for raising that. Actually, it's a great question. And you made a lot of points. So let's start with Coinbase being centralized. It's true. We are. There's a difference with the financial systems that we have versus Coinbase. So Coinbase is an entity, it is centralized, and we had to make that trade-off. It was actually a huge challenge for us. We had a sort of internal identity crisis a couple of years ago because we were built on this idea of decentralization, and here we were, a centralized company. It was tough. We spent a long time thinking about it, and the challenge is that 6 years ago when this company started, it was confusing to interact with a decentralized technology. The user experience wasn't easy. So we had to make a trade-off. Do we become centralized in the near term in order to allow better access to this technology, to this infrastructure? Or do we become decentralized and shut people out? So we chose in the near term to be centralized. But the difference is that the technology we're interacting with, it is global, it is decentralized. And you can read, our CEO has incredible posts about this. We do not want you to stay on Coinbase. We want you to go to the networks. We want you to get onto the technology, interact with the decentralized system. All we are is a bridge. And because we're interacting with banks and financial institutions, it's a requirement that we are centralized. That is how the world is organized today. Does that answer your question?
You can always give people the option of saving their private key.
We can, and as a matter of fact, we have a product that allows that. It's called Toshi. It's a user-controlled wallet. Yeah. And it's interesting, it's a great point, and I so appreciate that. As far as the forks existing, this is where language gets confusing. Forks have existed for a long time. A lot of them are clones of the database. They're not forking the history along with it. So there's that piece to keep in mind. Bitcoin Cash really made this prominent. And then as far as it being open source, correct. Some private blockchains are not open source. I'll caveat the entire presentation. When I said blockchain, I meant public blockchains all through the past. So I'm going to change the past on that one. Awesome. Any other questions? Come on.
Why does it take you so long to implement a new fork? I mean,
Yeah.
it hasn't been as fast as they could.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
So go next.
That's okay. I really appreciate the hard questions, and I appreciate everyone who has the courage to speak up and ask them. Because nothing's perfect. And so if we can address and be open, like our industry is, if we can be transparent about the challenges, I think we'll all be better off. So addressing why it takes us so long for forks, to implement a fork. 2 pieces. One is concerns around security. So Bitcoin Gold, if you're familiar, was another fork. They recently had experienced 51% attacks. If we had implemented Bitcoin Gold, it would have eroded trust for our customers. So in that sense, we want to make sure the network is secure and safe. And we realize that it's a large challenge for our customers, and we're trying to work on how we provide that information and really allow people to understand some of this newer technology. The second challenge is around technical difficulties. So what I spoke about here at a high level, we want to implement cross-chain SYNs so customers' funds are not lost. We want to ensure balances are correct. And all of those take time, especially if you're doing testing. Andreas Antonopoulos he has a great video, and he said, people wonder why it takes Coinbase so long to do things. When you have millions of customers, the time and quality assurance, testing, it all is significantly higher, and the repercussions are significantly worse. So from our side, we just want to be entering this technology in a way that is safe for our customers. Awesome. Any other questions?
Yes.
Yes.
So I have a question in reference to the cross-chain transfers. Obviously, people can lose money with that, and you guys step in and redirect the payments to the proper accounts. So that is a function that pretty much every financial institution does at some level, and there's very in-depth processes and regulations around that. So what actually applies to you guys in reference to that?
Sorry, what?
Well, for example, when you have payments that occur, and then there's an issue within that, and then you have to make a decision as to where that then has to go after that problem occurs. Usually there's a large framework of confirmations, third parties have to be contacted, client, data, privilege information, all sorts of things. And so from your standpoint, not being a financial institution by regulation, where do you fit in that? That's a big gray zone. So I was very surprised to hear that you guys take that actual step and commit to saying, yes, we do this actively.
Yeah. So in this situation, it is an additional feature, and you wouldn't encounter it if you didn't make a mistake. So one point, we are regulated in America as a money service business with FinCEN. We have money transmission licenses. Additionally, in the UK, we have licenses as well. So we do really attempt to provide trust to our customers in the way that we understand it today by these just licenses and things of that nature. So cross-chain SYNs are slightly different in that we knew where the customer was intending to send their money. So the address exists in both places, and what we're doing is saying, all right, we see that you sent it more or less denominated in the wrong currency, so what we're going to do is move over here and forward that into the place with the new information. If we don't know, we'll stop and contact the customer, but from a technology and technical point of view, it's actually, there are no risks associated with that, and as a result, there's no framework necessary. I think we can probably dive into this. One part that's challenging here is that cross-chain SYNs are confusing. So if you didn't understand it, if you didn't understand replay attacks, that's okay. It took a lot of experts in the space a long time to understand it, to give it language, to explain it. Myself included, I'm still working to actually explain it in a way that fits in our current mental model. And you can understand how it's absolutely not intuitive to customers if it's a challenge for people with experience to explain it. But let's connect afterwards, because I'd like to sort of walk through how the technical pieces work. Awesome.
Okay, there's time for one more question, so try to answer briefly.
Hi, Kristen. Thanks for your brief discussion. I would like to raise a point. You're kind of arbitrating what coins are becoming more or less popular by accepting them or not. I guess this is a good thing as well, but it's a big power wielded responsibly. Then how can you use this to help other types of projects which do not involve trading so much?
Yeah. It's a good question. It's funny, I remember our CEO getting up in front of the company and we said, every time we add this new currency, everybody gets excited. The industry, we're sort of this leading company that everyone trusts, and so they trust what we do. And he was like, that's not what I want. That's not why I came here. I'm here to let customers have a choice. The challenge is we want to be the most trusted, and we want to make sure this technology gets rolled out in a way that people can continue to trust it over time. So we think about that every time. It is a current challenge. It's something that none of us want. We want competition. We want other people. We want customers to make their choice. And I think in time we'll see the industry move in that direction as the technology becomes more understood. How can we help other projects? That's a great question. So a few things we've done. Coinbase now has a ventures team. So we are able to provide sort of seed funding to these new startups that we really believe in. And that's a way that we think about helping the community. Another thing, and actually we announced it yesterday, I believe, is a website called givecrypto.org. So for people who've been in the space for a long time, may have made a lot of money, really how can they give back? How can we bring this technology into what it was intended for? To help the unbanked, to support economic equality. And so we think about really all realms and where we can support what we can do, both for projects from a venture perspective, but also for individuals that may be unbanked or underbanked. Was that brief enough?
Yes, perfect. Okay, please another
Awesome.
round of applause for Kirsten. We're going to the next speaker.